Beats the hell out of tender victuals.
Well, you have put your foot in it this time.
I wondered when I'd be seeing you, Mr. Potter.
And what makes you think that a filthy, smelly old woman like you could become a goddess?
Oh, 1,000 pardons, my dear man. It appears that I am a little scupper. I know what to call him. Nothing you can do or say can change that. I call him son.
I'm glad I was caught. I was mentally deranged. Now I am cured. I ask only for you to accept my love of our leader. I ask only to be shot while my mind is still clean.
I am not an elephant! I am not an animal! I am a human being!
How old are you?
31.
It says here 25.
I said 25 because I thought that would get me into the army sooner.
This message must resound throughout the entire interlink. I want this country to realize that we stand on the edge of oblivion. I want every man, woman, and child to understand how close we are to chaos. I want everyone to remember why they need us.
He is my secret. What I did without choice.
I know.
In the name of peace and sanity.
But not in the name of the Doctor.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a very somber edition of the Omega Files. It wasn't our regularly scheduled program, but due to some very tragic events, we lost John Hurt last night, and it was very unexpected because everybody else has been talking about how well he was doing, how great he seemed to be, feeling and all that, and it just hit us out of nowhere, like a ton of bricks. I just figured we're going to go around the night, have a little talk about movie we've seen him in, and things like that. Give him a little send off. All right, let's start at the top. I'm going to start with Ross over here because he actually met John Hurt and worked on him on a project. So, go ahead and take it, Ross.
Yeah, it's a big shock, really. Tragic and unexpected. So, yeah, probably the first time I met John Hurt was in an Indian restaurant in Keswick. So it was really odd circumstances when we went down with university. Yeah, a really fun time. Loads of work that he's done as well. His voice work in Merlin, even the early animation of Lord of the Rings. He did the voice for Aragorn then. He's famous for loads of things, isn't he? So is it 48? Am I right that say? That film, the Big Brother one. I can't remember what it's called, but
1984.
1984, that's the one. Played Ollivander in Harry Potter, the Doctor Who. Loads of things. Been in Indiana Jones, and I think he's going to be one of the actors that he's still got loads of work that's still coming out yet. Like look at his filmography. So he's still at work that we've not even seen yet, and he's still going to entertain us even now that he's passed. So yeah, it's a really sad, tragic. But it's not really that sad in a way. He's had a good life, and one day, it's going to happen to us also. It's not one that's I think we should be really sad about as such. He's done great things, and even till this day, he's still been working, still been going strong. So it's sad to see him go so tragically by cancer.
Okay, let's go to AJ.
Yeah, I've seen John Hurt. I haven't seen Alien for a long time, so I'm not going to really mention much about that movie. But I've seen 1984. I thought he was absolutely brilliant in that. Just his portrayal of a character who's starting to become more human after being a slave for so long. I also loved him in as the War Doctor for Doctor Who. That was brilliant. He brought a bit of stability to possible silly movie, I thought. So that was good. And it's just sad to hear him go. I was at work at the time and I read that he had passed and people were saying it was false. And later in the day, I read again, it was actually confirmed. So it's sad and sorry to hear him go.
Okay, Philip.
I first came across John Hurt on TV during the time when they aired The Naked Civil Servant. And that particular show opened my eyes because during back then I was struggling with my own sexuality, and that sort of helped me out to decide what was what. So that was a good show. I then came across him on the movie Aliens, or Alien, and I think, as everybody else would say, was the most famous stomach exploding thing. That brought him to the world populace, I think, more so than Naked Civil Servant. And I think I've seen him in a lot of films across the years that span the century, but I think my most favourite thing for him now would be his recent works with Big Finish during the War Doctor. I mean, yes, he was in the 50th anniversary Doctor Who episode, and I didn't think much of him now. I didn't think that it was a good character, but once you got him in the audio, I found a new kind of love for his portrayal of the War Doctor. So that for me is, in a nutshell, how I come across him and how I come to respect him. And rest in peace, John Hurt.
Okay, Texas Tim.
Well, he's a very iconic actor. The first time I ever noticed him probably was an Alien, but at the same time, or that same year, I also saw Watership Down. We did the voice, one of the lead bunnies, and he also, I think that year where I lived, they had a repeat of I, Claudius, so I caught him in that, and they had a BBC version of Crime and Punishment, which I watched him in that. So I kind of just said, God, this guy's everywhere. But over the years, I mean, he's one of those guys. He strikes me, he's not much of somebody that wants to be like a world famous star. He's just somebody that's a very good character actor who can be relied upon to come in and do his work and do a very good job. And over the years, he's gained a lot of respect for that. I mean, I've never heard much about his stage work, but I know he's done a lot of film and television. And you can, if you start to think about the numbers of things you've seen him in, you'll quickly run out of fingers because you'll be like, wow. I mean, because you forget how many things you've seen him in over the years. Very good actor.
Okay, Beefhead.
I have to echo sort of what Tim said, sort of trying to sort of, put together your thoughts and everything for tonight, and you just go through the body of work that he has. And this guy, virtually a machine, you could say he was putting out at points like 2 to 3 movies a year. Okay, they're not all home runs, but he was a solid actor, and he just had this amazing gift that everyone pretty much of a certain age, I like to think, even to be honest with you now with his involvement with Doctor Who and that, a younger audience as well, know who John Hurt is. But he was able to do any role, and it wasn't a case of you're watching John Hurt. He was that character, and it didn't and that way it didn't detract from the story. And that is I think the great actor aspect to him. He had an amazing presence, and his voice, not just in the sort of on screen, but the as a voice actor, as a narrator for numerous documentaries, animated things, he had an amazing voice. He could hold your attention with a single word. The first time he shows up in the Harry Potter movie, he just says curious, and it does. It just makes the whole scene just through the tonation of that one word. And that is the mark of, for me, a fantastic actor. It's just an insane amount of work. Like Tim, I think one of the first things that I probably saw at that age was Watership Down, because it was such a big thing at that time. And as time has gone on, you see other things, and he has been so much at the forefront of what you could say are iconic moments in cinema history. I think that the scene from Alien that some of the guys have already mentioned is one of the most iconic scenes in cinema history, along with the sort of the eyes of Big Brother from 1984. So many things are statuesque, and he played a part in those. I don't think he was never really wanting to be a leading man. He was always a very solid support actor, and if a director wanted someone who made an impact, they would say, get me John Hurt. If you look at sort of the Hellboy movies, you look at Sam Peckinpah, they wanted him by name because of the strength and the character and the force that he was for holding your attention and bringing an element to him. And, it's a life well lived. Like Ross said, it shouldn't be sad. It should be something that should be celebrated and, thought about fondly.
Okay, Susan.
All right. I first saw him, I think, in The Naked Civil Servant. I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed the subsequent work that he did with as Quentin Crisp in what is it? An Englishman in New York, and then I also liked him in Caligula to bring the. I watched all of his more racy, more steamy stuff first, and then I sort of caught a glimpse of him in Indiana Jones and the 1984 then, and then I watched Alien and King Ralph and Scandal, which was amazing, and Contact, which when he said the words, "You're a clever girl," I just wanted to be her. I wanted to be that lady. Oh my gosh, he was able to impart stuff with his voice. It was amazing. You're right, Beef. And I liked. I also noticed his work in Hellboy and his work in V for Vendetta. He did an amazing job in V. Oh my gosh, such a cool part. And the one thing that I really wish I would have seen more recently, but I guess I saw it so long ago, I must not remember, is Elephant Man. Oh man. But I'm going to miss him. I'm going to miss John Hurt. I do like the Big Finish stuff that he's doing right now as the War Doctor. Oh my gosh, what a talent. And I mean, his voice just, like I said, it imparts stuff. And then, and he was pretty amazing in all things. I, Claudius, everything. Yeah, couldn't miss him.
Okay, let's go to William.
When I first saw Sir John Hurt, it was as John Merrick in The Elephant Man. I was floored by that movie. It was such a great movie that he did. I was totally shocked that I didn't find out for like a few years that he didn't win the Best Actor Oscar. It went to Robert De Niro for Raging Bull. So I was a little upset. I said this because years ago there has been a tie for Best Actor. So this is one of those times they should have done it again with these two actors, because John Hurt should have won that Oscar for The Elephant Man. And then the next time I saw him do was I, Claudius. But it must have been one of the I don't think it must have been the rerun in PBS, but that's how I remember him playing Caligula. And of course, all of us are from different generations, and we remember him from so many different things, because he did the animated Lord of the Rings. Of course, he recently did Harry Potter, and then last year's movie he did Jackie, the biography of Jackie Kennedy, of course, a lot of us remember, like I said, V for Vendetta, and Alien, Hellboy, all those I don't know, you can say pop films that the name sticks out. And of course, yeah, but that, a lot of other movies he did, maybe none of us may have seen it because it is not the genre that we watch. Like when he did Taking Taylor Soldier Spy. I mean, that he played that role very well. That was a great movie. Those who haven't seen it, I gotta recommend you watch that movie. That's a great movie. When he did the Doctor Who special as the War Doctor, he played that role very well. I saw him as the adult in the room compared to the other doctors, but he's the one that he knew what was the consequences was going to be for what the war was going to be. But I was a little bit maybe upset that he was going to be a one-off doctor, that we was not going to see him again. Luckily, I got to give Nick Briggs pop and whoever else thought of it, that they were able to bring him back to do the audios of the War Doctor, where we could know continued stories about that. But the shame of it is, in a few days or a few weeks, his final War Doctor Big Finish audio is going to come out, and we who has been listening to it know there's a lot more story going on, considering his time as the War Doctor spanned a lot of years. So there's a lot of stories to be told. So how Big Finish is going to do with it, that's something they got to deal with down the road. But I got to give props that, like Beef said, like that, he was not a starring actor, but he's a name that's recognized and very respected. That's why he's been knighted. So you got to give him props for that. He will be missed. And I like a lot of us here, actually thought that he was beating his cancer. But that's come. You saw him continually working on films. Because he has a film coming out this year, I think in November, called The Darkest Hour, and that's completed. Now I know there's another one or two that he was doing. Whether he finished filming those roles, we find out later on. But again, he spent so many years. He touched and he done so many things. Then you're not gonna forget him. I mean, it's a sad that he passed away in the way he passed, but he will never be forgotten, and I gotta give him props for that. And I myself, when it's my turn to go, I look forward to meeting him up in the pearly gates. So good luck to you.
Yeah, it was just, it seemed like he was always gave his best in every single role that he did. Because I remember, of course, my first movie I was exposed to with John Hurt, of course, was Alien. And, as we all found out, recently, or the last couple of years, he was brought in as a stand-in. This was a role that was supposed to go to somebody else. He was brought in last minute and, still made it his own. And like I said, I remember from these really off-the-wall movies that were like, never going anywhere. Like, everyone remember like From the Hip with Judd Nelson? Probably not. But there's this scene in that movie where Judd Nelson, as the attorney, drives him to confess. And it turns out, we find out over the course of the movie, I'm going to spoil the hell out of it for you, he had actually murdered his wife. And that scene where he goes off on the stand and all that, boom, moved me just as much as, it was right up there with that Few Good Men scene, except he went even further. It was a really, really great scene. Movies like Jake Speed, where he played the villain Sid. And that's a movie probably not even anyone out there who's watching right now ever heard of. But, once again, diabolical as hell, gave his all 100%, even though it ended up being like a B movie that went to nowhere. Always iconic in every single role that he played. And that's what I love about it. He just, blew me away in everything he was in. Okay, I'm going to throw open the floor. So if there's anything else anyone wants to throw out, go on ahead and take it.
Oh, I do. Since I have...
Jason hasn't talked yet.
Oh, sorry, Jay. Go ahead.
The first time I seen him was actually in a cameo in Spaceballs, which was definitely interesting. The fact that there's picking on a bit of Alien, but sadly I haven't actually seen the Alien, which I should end up watching sometime this year. I've noticed this. I've seen him on Black Cauldron, of him playing the Holden King, which I I watched the whole movie. That was pretty interesting of him playing the Holden King. I was shocked when I seen that on the list. Him playing the doctor, the war doctor, was really a shock for me. I was really shocked when I seen him when they showed a cameo of him and the name of the doctor, and I was like, what are they going to do with him? What are they going to do with him? Then when he was playing the war doctor, he did pretty good. Done pretty great in my opinion. Also seen him on Hellboy, definitely did great. Also seen him on Harry Potter. Trying to figure what else. Oh, Merlin. He also played, I think, the dragon in Merlin. Because I've seen at least a few episodes of Merlin. I still need to watch the rest of it, but he's definitely done a great performance of the dragon. And I need to see the rest of the movies he's been in. So, but his legacy, in my opinion, will live on.
Okay, like I said, I'm going to throw open the floor. Anyone else out there want to throw anything else out, or?
He's one of those massive presents, isn't he? No matter what he's in, no matter what he does, he's always a standout in even a small part. Even like when he was in Harry Potter, even if those small scenes he was in it, he stood out and made a character so iconic. His voice, just the way he could command the stream, and just whatever he was doing, he was just really great, really caring guy as well. I remember when I met him, he was with a group of us, and he was willing there just to stand there with his, I think it's his agent he was with, or it might have been his wife, I can't remember. But he was signing everyone's autograph and taking photos with them. There was a class of about 30 of us, and he was just willing there to stand there. He had things to do. He was hosting a film festival at the Keswick Film Festival in the Lake District. But he's a really patient guy, really caring, and always talks to us all. Yeah, he's really a really nice guy, and definitely gave him missed.
I think, like Ross was saying, I was reading a few bits before we came on tonight and everything like that. And one of the things he said that for every sort of big film he did, he still liked to go back and do independent film, which is a testament to him as an actor wanting to further the craft. Because he thinks that's where the next sort of thing is going to come from, is going to be going to independent film and just trying to get new filmmakers going. So, I mean, that's got to give you something, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's always working as well, even up to today. Like, he's still films coming out, 4 films this year. He was in Jackie last year, which is nominated for an Oscar as well, the film. So, yeah, he's just a guy who's constantly working, even up to his death. So I think he's always going to live on. He's got so much history behind him. He's definitely going to be someone that will definitely be remembered.
He has besides the Darkest Hour, he also has another movie called That Good Night, in which he plays a terminally ill writer. That's going to be coming out this year too. So that he completed that. So, but I know he was doing another movie, but I don't know if he completed that third one yet. That's the one I got to check on.
Well, I don't know if you already mentioned it. He did another audio for Big Finish that's coming out this month as well. Not just the War Doctor.
Man. Yeah,
Invisible Man.
The Invisible Man. I'm looking forward to that one now more than ever to listen to.
That was a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, I listened to the excerpt of that, and he's very good in the episode they give you to listen to. He's very good and very frightening, very scary in the Invisible Man. So that's worth a listen when you get it.
He's very good at what I've noticed. I've never seen The Naked Silver Servant, but I've seen photos from it. So he's not afraid to take on something that's a bit controversial, I guess, or he was at the time, I suppose. He's not afraid to be slightly over the top or even camp in a certain way. Like the character of Caligula, he's only in about 2 or 3 episodes of Claudius, but when he's on, it's like he takes over the show. It's like his thing, and it's like, man, he's good at that part. It's a total lunatic role, but I mean, he plays it so well. And you would think that, it might be too over the top in some ways, but it's not. It's very shocking what he does in that story. But that's the character he's playing. But it's a great part for him. That was probably before he was any bit of a household name. So I mean, he's always good. It's like you said, he subconsciously he can uplift a movie just by being in it in a way. I mean, he'll be in a big cast of big actors, and he'll just be the one part that he plays, but just him being there is a bonus.
The strangest thing. Oh, sorry.
No, go on, mate. Go on.
I was going to say the strangest thing I've seen John Hurt in. I was watching a YouTube video not too long ago. Was a interactive game movie thing called Tender Love. Sorry, hang on, I got it on my screen here. Loving Care, I think it is, where he plays like a doctor, and it's an interactive sort of movie game. It was just really weird. Like, he was the best part of it while I was watching the YouTube video, playing this sort of commentary person, which it was an unusual thing, but for him was probably something new and experimental that he wanted to try. So
what's interesting too, his voice work. I mean, he must have a very good agent, because for one thing, he stays very busy. But I mean, just that bit he does in a Merlin. Of course, he was a regular character for the first couple of series with being the dragon and whatnot. But then, they quickly cut their budget. They couldn't afford to do all that CGI anymore. But he continued to be in the credits just for saying the title of the episode. I mean, in episodes he didn't even appear in, just him saying Merlin. He continued to have a leading credit in that show, which is, I mean, I guess that means residuals, money. I mean, so in the long run. So that was something I guess his agent worked out, but amazing. And again, that's him doing voice work in this century, which is something I guess he does all the time. Like Beefhead says, I've never really seen any documentaries that he narrated, but I'm guessing it happens quite a bit. And that's just an example of him staying very busy.
I think the thing as well that I think about when I think of John Hurt, he comes from a certain school of an old school of acting that I don't think is easy to replace, and that's why sometimes when people like this go, you do feel a loss, because you think there's not going to be anyone who can really replace it in that sense. And he has that. I think the way to describe it is gravitas. The contemporaries and people that he was in films with were like, Richard Burton, Peter O'Toole, he was great buddies with Ollie Reed. Don't get me wrong, for all his seriousness, he was very, very funny, very, very witty. He liked to drink, he liked to smoke, which probably didn't help with him getting cancer, but he did pack it on the head about 10 years prior to him saying that he had become ill. But so more power to him. But he was great drinking buddies, and stories of what they did quite legendary. But he was never afraid to take himself too seriously. So, you had Alien and then he did Spaceballs. So it was completely like lampooning himself. He was Jesus in Mel Brooks, The History of the World Part 1. Do you know what I mean? If you can do Jesus and turn it into a comedy role, the only other people who've done it with any moderation of success was Monty Python. So, he does Ox in, the comedy film, the Indiana Jones comedy movie. I think he did that as much as it was a job, because I think he was buddies with Denham Elliott as well, who died and everything like that. So it was a case of, if we can't get Denham Elliott, we're going to get the closest person who could do something like that, which would be John Hurt. And he was never afraid to take himself too seriously. So, he would do King Ralph, which is a comedy movie, which he hated on accounts because there were so many production problems with it. But he's very funny in that. I like the way that certain aspects of his career as well would mirror, to be honest with you. He did The Naked Civil Servant, and then he revisited it years ago, which was Quentin Crisp after he moved to America. I like the fact that he did 1984, which is a really great movie. If you've never seen it, watch it, where it's a very controlled performance. And then he does V for Vendetta, where he's, instead of being the oppressed, he's the oppressor, to be honest with you, where you have a state-controlled sort of media-governed society. So he does both sides of the coin on that, which I love that sort of thing when you get that sort of aspect to it. One of the films that I've seen that probably not a lot of people have seen is one that he did with Richard Harris called The Field. He's fantastic in that. If you ever get a chance, it's a serious drama movie, but he's fantastic in that, and it's not talked about enough. But yeah, that's it. You know, what can you say apart from a life well lived?
And what's funny that he did a lot of voice work, because besides besides the Lord of the Rings animated one, he also did the Black Cauldron and Dogville, which I mean, that stood out because he has a distinctive voice. That's how come everybody recognize him now as the War Doctor because of the Big Finish one. People will recognize him more as the War Doctor because of the audio than from the special, because that special was only 75 minutes long, and you have 12 audio stories to listen to, which adds up to almost 12 hours. So that makes up for that.
And don't forget the storyteller as well, which is often something that's forgotten about. That was a Jim Henson sort of amazing stories type thing for kids, and he was fantastic in that. He was the glue that held that together, and the makeup and everything like that. He did the Elephant Man where he had to spend 12 hours in makeup to do the original test. That's by these days that would probably be turned around in about 2 or 3 hours, but back then it's sort of like that's a serious commitment to your craft. And the makeup that he's got in the storyteller, the guy becomes a living muppet. You've got to give him his kudos. And whether you love or hate the War Doctor, there's one thing that guy carried across in it, and I think that I'd struggle to think of another person who could seriously do that, is if you think about the character and what he's been through and what he's seen, and he's embittered and he's at the end of his rope, is that you get that with him. He has that sort of world-weary aspect to him. He has that sort of hangdog look to his face that I can't imagine anyone else doing. And I'm so glad that they actually got someone to do him. His knighthood was far too late, in my opinion. It really was.
If I could just say something about that, one thing I think that was in the extras of the first box that he did, that he had no idea going into it that he was going to be like a Doctor Who for life. That's what, and he was delighted with that. Because I mean, when he first probably got the script, he thought, "Oh, this is just another job, no biggie. I'll go in and do my 4 weeks of work, and I'll be done with it." But then, he didn't realize he was joining that big Doctor Who family and becoming an iconic Doctor on his own after the fact, so to speak. And so I think he was thrilled to death that he's one of those doctors, one of those iconic doctors. I mean, because it could have just been a job to him. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have to embrace it. But I mean, there he was getting work a couple of years down the road doing audio work for it, and he enjoyed it. So good for him.
That's the testament of the man, because like everybody has said, he loved his work. He loved working from day dot, and he carried on until he could no longer do it. And that's a testament to someone that will fight through what he's going through and still go, "Yes, I'll do this for you. I'll do that for you." And I don't know anybody that would go out there suffering the way he suffered and carry on working.
And you got to give him props, because a person of his age can continue getting work. But you know how it is over there in Hollywood and a lot of places. They don't like using older actors. They'd rather have a young person in makeup looking old. Because that tells you how much of an actor that he is, no matter what age he is, that he's able to give it his all, and that stands out in each movie that he's done.
Okay, anything else? I think we've pretty much run the table.
One other movie on Beef's recommendation, 44-inch Chest, because you've got some really good, it's a gangstery type movie, but you've got people like Ray Winston. Who else have you got? You've got Deadwood fellow, what's his name? Ian McShane. And John Hurt. Yeah, you've got such fantastic British actors in that. A very concentrated, small cast British movie, and it is superb. It's just like watching some old villains down the pub having a few drinks. Yeah.
Another movie I recommend that I didn't see till later on. Because I didn't see it when it first came out. Is Midnight Express. That stands out to this day. So I recommend people watching that movie.
Okay. Anything else? All right. I think we've pretty much rounded it up. Once again, John Hurt, fantastic actor, great man, well loved by everybody. A career that spanned over 6 decades, and he loved his work, and he worked right up to the end. And what greater testament can you give than that? So rest in peace, John Hurt. There'll never be another one like you.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.